But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
All right, welcome to the 178th episode of the World Blockchain Roundtable. Our hosts for today, I'm just going to go down the list here. Lisa, this is Dark Lisa, is that right? It doesn't say.
Well, I'm sorry that I still had my.
Okay, all right, Dark Lisa.
There, now I'm Dark Lisa.
Thanks for joining. Zach and Andrew from Legacy Right. William, or I am from DEN.SOCIal, Greg from Rivet, and Satoshi Sean, everyone's best friend, I think. And I'm going to tell, I have a little bit of OCD that I suffer from, and therefore having one extra uneven, I think we'll watch for the comments.
He's coming.
What's that?
Lee said he's coming.
Oh, right on. Okay, he has the link?
He had to stop by the shops. But he's going to come by after that. I sent him the link. So.
All right. Well, I was going to say, we could potentially vote one of us off. It could be me. It could be whoever. We could vote someone off.
I can go pack.
And we can go, like, anybody in the comments, if you want to vote someone off, make your vote now. We'll tally them, and we'll see if that can happen. All right. So first update, and I don't even have it shared. See, I'm totally unprepared. 1 second here. I have it over here.
Vote me off.
I know that's
3-hour tour.
Okay. November theme suggestions. So, oh wait, sorry. I take that back. We're going to do, geez, give me a break. We're going to do last week's episode, lot distribution. Sorry, I'm totally out of whack here. The topic was layer ones versus layer zeros. Every host will receive 266 lot. Every topic contributor, 166 lot. Last week's theme was nominated by Earth Dragon, who will receive 166 lot. That's perpetual passive income, free edits, and governance votes with those lot NFTs. And now we have a theme suggestion for November. Leave your suggestions by next Wednesday. See if you pronounce that correctly. And
Wednesday in February.
February 8th. Post-election commentary. Ideally, this will be for the November 7th episode. That's brilliant. Jacob Wayne, Santa's Perfect Blockchain. We can go through them. William, the World Blockchain Roundtable exclusive, the real Satoshi Nakamoto reveals himself on the live show. I might vote for that. That'd be pretty good. Sam Bankman-Fried as a panelist. Oh, okay. Us channeling Sam. Oh, see, this one I'm voting for. This is this William?
Yeah.
That's a brilliant one. Imagine if he were a guest. Man, that would be great. And then Doomsday Preppers. Okay, I love it. DAOs and off blockchains. Man, you don't get points for these, Williams. You're posting so many. What blockchain or blockchain tech are you thankful for? Okay, Thanksgiving coming
That's
up.
cute.
That Doomsday Preppers is interesting because
yes,
they've changed. They're much darker now.
Are they? I've not watched any of that for a while, but
because they're part of the 2A community, and it's like now it's not just prepping, and it's how to take stuff from other people when everything goes bad.
What, really?
Yeah.
Because I love the jokes. It's like, why do you want?
The war
shiny
of all
rocks.
against
We're
all.
not just going to come and take them from you, right? And it's like, oh yeah, you only have shiny rocks. You don't have any other things. You just everything goes into shiny rocks. Anyway,
But that could also include things like you're securing your wallet, securing your crypto.
yeah.
Alternative
This is why,
currencies.
Well, how do you use it when
in
the
that
internet's
state of the
down
world,
or all that stuff?
Yeah.
and that, well, I mean, you can for instance have wide area networks that you run off of discarded old cell phones, for example.
Right.
You could literally just
You
route
can use radio.
the phones and
You can
toss
run-
them out into fields
Jam.
everywhere, and you can create a mesh network, right? Like
There you
we can
go. There you go.
rebuild
That's the
internet
word.
one
The early
little
days of
computer at a
Linux.
time.
If did anybody ever subscribe to Linux Journal?
No.
Total
No,
nerd here.
of course
It was
not.
like they had some of the most amazing articles on, and mostly it was geared towards if you find yourself in Africa and you want to be able to do this, you can use Linux with a ham radio to send email and to query stuff on the internet. It's freaking brilliant, but it was over a ham radio. Awesome.
The internet protocols
insane.
extend for like there's an IP protocol for carrier pigeon, and there's a newer one for low latency carrier pigeon.
Yep. It's awesome. Station
So
wagons.
So we could get by without electricity even and build an internet if we needed to.
Yep.
Because protocols are really about how you communicate, not what you communicate on.
Did you ever see the show Revolution?
Oh yeah, that was
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That was great.
It was filmed in Texas, actually, in Austin.
What was it?
Yeah, but and it's funny because they talked about just basically the grid goes down. There's no electricity on Earth, and it's like nuclear war kind of after like 5 years. It's not long, 5-10 years. Like there's overgrowth everywhere. Everything's it's post-apocalyptic, and the U.S. is broken up into like 4 different sections. It's like the southern, north. It's like, but then Texas is its own thing, and they just talk about Texas like, oh, don't go to Texas. And in the last season, they show you what Texas seemed to be fine, but yeah,
Texas is like the promised land, basically.
Yeah.
Everyone's like talks about Texas like they're crazy, but that was probably part of.
And then like the South or something, like in Atlanta, like they've all adapted to like steam engines again.
Like the northern stuff, it's all, or Philadelphia, that area, that it's all like colonial stuff, and it's like ruled by warlords. But then
you can blend the post-apocalypse genre easily with like the Tolkien's legendarium genre, right? You could have like one society devolve into something that was dwarf-like because they hid underground, and another one that was like hobbits because they survived off of fishing, mutated fish, and like the elves could be like a bunch of scientists who sat out the whole thing on the ISS or like an Antarctic research base or something. So they still have all the high tech. Like you could totally set that up.
That'd be good.
Kind of want somebody to write that.
Kind of like no, what is it? It was the Odyssey, but placed into the 20s or 30s. What was that movie? It had, damn it,
from the 20s or 30s.
Yeah, it was set in the 20s or 30s.
Not Wizard of Oz.
No.
That was in the 30s.
I can't even remember.
Metropolis. Megalopolis.
Ah, man, what is it?
I'm looking forward to it.
Go ahead. You were going to say something, Sean. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
That the Y-Files channel on YouTube, because Greg mentioned Tolkien, that the human race it's like it's Tolkien. That Neanderthals, they weren't like cavemen looking; they were like orcs. They had long fangs. They were massive. They came out at night. They were dark. And we were the hobbits. And we went underground and lived in, that giant city underground. And when the last extinction event came, that's why we're here, because we came out of the holes and we're like, hey, all the bad, huge things that were trying to kill us are gone. So
there was a next generation about the underground, living under the underground.
It is over
Seven
Oh
Eves
Brother.
was kind of like that too. Like, if you guys have read Seven Eves, that book has the single best opening sentence of any book I've ever read.
Oh.
Suddenly, for no apparent reason, the moon exploded.
That's good. I've heard there's a meme that's similar to that.
And
Oh
the
brother,
seas
where art
boil.
thou? Which
Oh
is
yes, that
resetting
was
of the Odyssey.
great.
I forgot about this too. Another movie that took the Odyssey as its basis was SpongeBob SquarePants movie. I'd
Yeah.
forgotten totally
I've
about that.
heard
You
that.
know, I can see that now.
Okay, this week, blockchain for real estate. I don't have a lot to say about real estate. I have a
Really?
couple of
I
little things,
do.
but
Did anybody else like that?
So-
Pun? No.
anyway, so you want to hit the questions and then we'll get through them.
Did you refresh already?
I did not. So make
Man,
sure
it
you
would have been
guys.
so cool to be able to vote on this.
Yeah, but what's up, man?
I can't log in.
I'm telling you, go to Vivaldi. Set up the browser Vivaldi.
That's a good web browser.
It really clears
Mhm.
out the cookies best for me.
You should
Cookies
try
are a horrible,
too, Sean.
stupid thing. They just have
It's
been.
possible border control is censored.
Yeah, I'm on
more
keto
hardcore.
anyway, so I can't have. No, I'm not. I'm off now.
All right. First question from Jacob Wayne. I've seen blockchain projects that can digitize your deed on a blockchain with intentions in a roadmap to enable transferring deeds between parties and using crypto to purchase a home. But since there are a few projects doing this, I know of Proppy and Lofty. I knew of Proppy, for example. How could we eliminate multiple companies transferring deeds and properties while avoiding conflicting data? I hope it makes sense. So who wants to take this first?
I will take it first because
Right.
this is I was involved with this in the beginning before any of those projects. It was one of the first videos I ever did. It must have been like 6 years ago. And it was this huge grand thing. It was before NFTs were a thing. They were going to be NFTs. You know what I mean? And it couldn't happen because forget about being projects. It has to go by country. There's so many, and that's the big reason to do it is because governments are fickle, especially in a lot of parts of the world. They get overthrown, they get changed, and then that's how when things get back to normal, you can prove that you own your land, even though 2 governments ago took it away from you illegally.
I think Palestine.
Sure, something like that.
Does,
And
do you think we should probably just real quick before we get into the weeds of it mention how the current property deed title system works, like how it's organized now and who does it? Is that worth mentioning?
where?
Oh, right, exactly. That's the first point.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the United States, for example, the county recorders of deeds are going to be responsible for running that software, right?
Whoa, wait. No, I say no. See, that's even. I think the whole assumption of some of this is that you'd have to change what exists because that'll never fucking happen, right? I think what we need to look at is this is a layer on top. So you can still go.
I wasn't saying we
to the
should
county.
try to mimic it. I'm just saying we should like start
Yeah,
with a basic.
but these things should output evidence or details or history or events or proof that that it has changed hands, and then it can be just cascade itself down into whatever the current law system, wherever you are, can then produce whatever they need.
With this, there's so many layers of bureaucracy that it's just mind blowing. That's why.
That's what I'm saying. That's why you want to touch it. You want anything you do with
really wanted to do this right
property
though,
would be up here, and then it would
something like
push
what
down.
3 words.
And I think that's the general idea around
what 3
this.
words is neat because you could build a protocol off of it that was unified, and it would also make sense in places like Japan where they don't define, for instance, where you live based on a street address. They name the blocks, not the streets. So something like what 3 words would be kind of like an Esperanto-like system that would work, and you could also probably generate a finite supply of NFT tokens to describe property just by generating an NFT for each of the words and making sure you recorded the 3x3 grid that the words represent. A deed would look something like starting at these 3 words and extending this far or extending as far as this set of 3 words, and then this far in that direction to the next 3, and you just sort of string together a block of NFTs that people would own, and that would be deeds, right? And if you wanted to put easements on it or whatever, right, you could do that by specifying the path similarly. Like it's these 3 words through these 3 words that the city has leeway to go through and like add water supply or whatever.
It's literally cutting out the bullshit. Yeah. It's literally cutting out the bureaucratic bullshit.
Yep. Right, and it would make as much sense in
and I'm all for that. I'm just
in South Africa as it would in downtown Manhattan.
Yeah, I'm just saying if to cut it out, yes, but it's just you can do this without it too. And obviously it'd be ideal if this were the base system, but if it can't be, then it can't be, and who cares? Right. I want to use it. Right? I want to use this.
To this question though specifically, you can't really decide in advance what's going to work, right? Because what's going to work is what everybody is willing to use. So maybe my idea about the 3 words is better. Maybe somebody else's idea about doing this at Proppy or Lofty have it right. So we can't really ask that these companies not compete with one another, or that we only have one solution out of the gate.
Right. And some counties might choose one. Some counties we're going to stick with this, but we'll accept evidence from that or whatever else, right?
Yeah. Now you probably see ultimately some collaboration between those companies, right? Looking to build a decentralized protocol that's a marketplace for deed providers, sort of things. That would be like a good physical infrastructure project, I think. But that's like again another thing that would have to evolve.
It was called Fieldcoin, and it was 6 years ago.
Wow, way ahead of its time.
Yep. Yeah, it was. It was. And then they were going to have a marketplace. They were going to do like micro loans for.
What happened to them? Where did they go?
That's the thing. I talked to the founder, and he was like, "Man, this is so much harder because you have to go literally in a lot of countries, like Greg was saying, like you have to go by states. Every state has different law, and then counties can have different." You have to. It's so many layers of approval and bureaucracy. He's like, there's no way we can't do it.
There are some places, like for instance, in Italy, you can pay a lawyer to be really good at their job, and their goal is to delay as long as humanly possible. And you can have 10 or 15 years of a case that's designed to settle like a property boundary, right? These are self-licking ice cream cones that are heavily armed to the teeth with moats around them, designed to preserve the dynasty of lawyers who specialize in sitting on their asses doing nothing but delay. And these people will be against this kind of efficiency, eliminating their market niche, So it's going to be a fight on the ground, sort of inch by inch to get there.
Who else has something on this? Who else?
I think if you think about it, if my friends in California, they really got this whole system set up there because they have 3 departments, and no one checks to see if anybody else is covering what responsibility, who has what. And once somebody actually has a house built, and there's an accident or a fire, they'll, well, I got it. It's my responsibility. No, it's my, and then they'll find out, no, it's nobody had a responsibility, so nobody gets paid out. I think that's the best system to do it.
Your lien was recorded on at one
on
of these
chisel.
Agencies, and it was one of these other agencies that you were actually not supposed to file with, and we have a first to file system or something like that. So the person who filed it the day after they found out that you had a competing claim, they actually win. That sort of crap.
And
I'll make a quick comment about this. I get where Jacob Wayne is going. The idea that, first of all, deeds would be immutable if they're written to a blockchain, and it would have the recorded history of transfer of ownership. That's a perfect fit for blockchain. And, even blockchain can do KYC and AML, which is another part of the whole, layers of bureaucratic BS.
Assuming we ought to do that at all,
right? But I'm with Joe, and I'm black-pilled that we're just not going to tear down and tear apart that large.
Oh, would we lose William? Oh,
yeah, I think.
No.
They heard tear down. It's like, oh,
bureaucratic system that is different in every city down that thing.
Yeah, well, you know,
let me. Oh, sorry.
The
Go ahead,
paperwork,
please.
eliminating the paperwork on those things. I get it. That fits blockchain.
I say, let me compliment what you were saying there, William. Maybe we should just tear down the system and replace it with nothing, and then wait another 40 years or 50 years and see what happens. Then maybe we'll come up with a decision.
Because if we vote, then that'll matter. It'll change everything. Yeah.
Vote harder.
I interviewed a guy. I met him in Utah. And I don't know. I don't think it was Fieldcoin, Sean. It was a different guy. But they were tokenizing real estate, and then they were separating the right to live in the house versus the property or the house. So they were like tokenizing the house, and then somehow you were like selling your house, but you were still living in your house.
This is dangerous.
Seemed a little strange.
I've talked to one group, and they haven't launched, but they were how do you say that? They were buying apartment buildings, and what they wanted to do was essentially tokenize, so they would own the apartment building, but you could own a piece of it. And that tenants, if they were maintaining their place, they would end up owning a piece of it, and then could sell it back if they wanted to move or hold it. But it was a separate
took out a
matter.
loan against it.
But you could also like diversify your property holdings that way. So like I didn't have to just own a home in Oklahoma. I could also have property or tokenized property in California, in Washington, and all over.
The moral hazard here that we might very well end up with asset-backed securities being derived from tenancy rights that would be bundled up and resold and rehypothecated to the end of the earth. And you have not just a mortgage-backed
but that's a separate
crisis.
That's a separate issue.
You would have a tenancy right security crisis.
Can I offer
They'd
something
literally
up?
throw you out of the house, even though you'd have to keep paying for it.
We always talk about the difficulty with getting adoption, because real world systems that would be most that would benefit most from this technology tend to have friction built into them by either the lawyers, the bureaucrats, the government itself, or with voting, the fraud, criminals, the fraud, and
warlords, you name it.
Maybe we should be trying to find, I'm going to take 10 things that we want on this particular system. 9 of them we want, 1 of them we don't want at all, but we use that one to leverage the bankers and the fraudsters to get the rest of them in. Then we can get rid of it. That's the way they would do that to us. That's what it's like, we're going to separate this group from this group, and we're going to get this thing over here. That's what they do to us already. Why wouldn't we be doing that?
Well, that's kind of what this project was doing. Like you would tokenize your house, and then you would sell your tokenized house to get money to pay the banksters off. So then you live in your house that's paid for, but there's like someone else owns it. So
a reverse rent.
If somebody ever came after you to try to take the house, well, there's liens on it. Somebody else owns
reverse rent to own, essentially, and you poison the deed with the lien in a way that makes it like
it's really interesting
to come confiscate.
It is interesting.
I love it.
It is interesting.
Another issue is abandoned houses get taken over, and then there's this thing about squatters' rights, and that's a horrible situation. If you own a home, and next thing you know, somebody has turned on the utilities and drew up a fake lease agreement, and you go to the police and say they do not belong here, this is my home, I own it, or I have the bank note, and then this person just, I got the lease right here, and look at the water bill and the electric bills in my name, and it's right here, and the police say, hey, this is not a criminal matter, this is now a civil matter, and they step out. And it's a mess. It's huge. It's a huge problem that criminals are taking over.
Could really help with that.
How very egoist.
Because you can actually have a level of proof that is hard to dispute once it's on chain. Like
Right,
if you get it
that's
into
where I
the
was
proper
going.
recordation system
Mm-hmm.
and it's in there and it was submitted with a valid transaction, there's no arguing over the finer points of whether or not you had 2 signatures and somebody witnessing who had no interest in the property, that sort of shit.
Right.
You'd also completely eliminate like the need for the rule against perpetuities, which is a thing that says like you can't donate land for non-charitable purposes and still control it long after you're dead. You get 20 years to control it, and if the interest hasn't finalized by then unless it's a charitable gift, which you can give in perpetuity, then you can't have like a reverter on it, where if they don't keep it a tennis court or whatever, the land reverts back to you. That sort of shit.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So where's Lee at? What's going on? He's not coming on?
No, he said there's too many people.
That's crazy. That's crazy. How can there be too many people?
He's the man the F up.
Oh yeah, figured.
Yeah,
Okay, let's see here. Okay, uniform standards of professional appraisal practice. Okay, I didn't even know such a U.S. PAP.
Oh my gosh!
This is William. Question.
Yeah.
How can
I
real
don't,
estate
I don't even know if I
appraisals-
want to talk about this. It's so ugly.
Oh boy! All right. How can real estate appraisals be done using blockchain, smart contracts, and AI so they're objective and eliminate fraud by the Central Appraisal District around the country? People are starting to file lawsuits presenting evidence of appraisal fraud and collusion between that group and the local government authorities who need property tax revenues to go up to cover the budget shortfalls. They're suing the CADs and also suing personally the board members and the CADs. This is awesome. Right now, school districts are bankrupt and general public doesn't know that property tax fraud is being committed by the CADs that are not using the uniform standards of appraisal practices. They're altering and inflating property values to increase property taxes. This is their attempt to meet payment obligations. These payment obligations include school bonds, city governments, pension fund payments, and school and city operating costs. Is about to go viral. When it does, the everything bubble will pop. Doesn't this also relate to when people are doing various types of mortgages on their property that the banks want the mortgage to happen, so they'll kind of get
that meaning they're
Right.
unqualified lenders are getting a loan anyway.
Right. The subprime market is more about depriving people of valuable property that they can swipe and improve, and then collude with the appraisers to jack up the value, resell, and then continue to reap higher tax revenues as the appraisal goes up. Right. So like it's not just a self-licking ice cream cone. It's like a double-decker self-licking ice cream cone that you lick by shoving up your butt.
Well,
subprime mortgages was the 2008.
I also saw
in Texas. We're here in Texas, we're about to do away with property taxes.
I don't know. I hope so, but I don't know about that.
I thought you already didn't have property taxes.
No, it's huge here.
We have no income tax.
You don't have income tax.
Yeah.
Okay.
No income tax. We have property tax.
Must
I don't
This
even
is
want
the
to tell you
system
what
you
my
need to
monthly property
dismantle,
tax
right?
rate is.
Me too. Mine is horrible. It's stupid.
transaction
My monthly
taxes
property
only.
tax is a mortgage payment.
Man.
We could solve the whole fucking problem with tax and the tyranny that's done in its name by simply having a point of sale tax only.
Yeah.
No,
and
I'm going to replace the suffix of your entire sentence.
have only
We
states
can
collect taxes.
solve the
and they pay
all
the
of the
federal
tax
tax,
issues with rope,
the
and I think
people.
that's the only real answer. It's the only answer you can ever actually solve those issues with. Anyway,
I don't know. I think Latocracy
Rope,
could solve it. too.
tar, and feathers.
Latocracy
maybe
could
yeah,
solve it
rope,
too.
tar, feathers. So a little bit of steel, maybe.
Some steel. Yeah.
Lead.
Yep, Latocracy could totally solve this.
Lead.
I'm gonna say third time.
Yeah.
I would be okay if you hemlock too. You could use hemlock, whatever. You could use anything, you know. Anyway, does this also? I saw some stuff about a month ago that was really sad, but it was basically you take the poorest of the poor people in America, and these people in trailer parks, and they're doing something similar where they're basically
it's horrible.
just like they can't afford to even live in a trailer park, and I'm like,
Right.
what the
Yeah,
hell?
a lot of rent
they're
is insane.
buying the land underneath the trailer park from a previous company, and it's a hedge fund. And what the hedge fund does is then it jacks up the rates, knowing that they're this is how they're going to get a big return on the investment by these hedge funds. But unfortunately, what they're doing is they're killing the property because then nobody can afford to live there, and it's typically your lowest of income earners or maybe soon, senior citizens that have a fixed income and they can't afford that rate anymore. And the mobile home isn't really a mobile home. It's really attached to the land.
Right.
It's
a boat in a moat.
To move it is even more money, $20,000.
That's kind of a cool scam, because when I was a financial advisor, I would go over the VA loan, and you can't use your VA loan for a trailer because it's not a house.
Right.
When you
and
pay it
incidentally
off,
not taxable.
You don't get you actually get a car title. You get a vehicle title for any trailer, even a double wide.
Yep, and they can make you register with a license plate because it's not rolling.
You can get extra money from the bank with the loan as a land improvement. Use the money to buy a mobile home.
Yeah,
right.
Jeez.
But that also means it's more like a purchase money security interest than it is a loan proper with a lien.
But this is a little bit off topic. But the what you mentioned about the hedge funds doing that, it's very similar to another scheme that I've heard about where they will buy out some chain like Red Lobster, then they basically make a whole bunch of deals to enrich their own companies or other companies, and essentially just hollow it out. Right? It's kind of
it's a lease payment. So in other words, they own the property underneath the restaurants, and then they jack up the lease payment that the restaurant has to pay to. It's a real estate.
You know what?
And McDonald's,
and you also probably have to pay a security deposit on it, so they probably benefit from churn, right? So if they can make it unaffordable, that means they get to evict and take another security deposit right after that.
Yeah,
sort of like what
they're not doing that though. They're just emptying it out to then close it down later.
This is a way to hollow out people who have nowhere else to go.
A lot of old chains.
This is why, I mean, in the end, I used to consider myself the ultimate capitalist. I was like, everything should just be, and I if it were a free market, and if some of these things weren't possible, and that, I'm not a financial guy, so I wouldn't be able to tell you how exactly to define it, but it's what difference is there between capitalism and communism, except in the color of the flags? There doesn't seem any difference.
Both of them are fake, really.
Yeah,
because there's no movement for workers by workers to liberate them. It's actually a movement by elites on the behalf of workers, and that doesn't work, right? And we don't have a free market in capital. We probably haven't had that since like the Bank of Vienna, and that was a long damn time ago.
It's something I don't understand.
We briefly saw a free market in capital. We did. It was between 2017 and 2018, and the SEC got real mad about that.
I kind of understand why the media doesn't hit Trump on it, because it's like their sacred cow. But Trump supporters hate when I bring this up. But he did one of the most socialist things there ever. He completely bailed out the airline industry, just with bajillions of dollars. That should have been the free market. All the airline companies that didn't overbook and beat the crap out of people and have all these things go viral on TikTok because they're shit. They should have all the good companies should have been able to buy those planes for pennies on the dollar. They should be rewarded for running their business as well. But
or maybe like junk those planes because they're
isn't that a pattern though?
They're just gonna fall right out of the sky anyway.
Yeah, but see, they could actually hit him on that and say, "Hey, man, that was socialist. You're like a socialist." Blah blah blah. But that's what they want. Socialist.
As one of his advisors,
not to be a semi-socialist populist, right?
That's not true. Just like when Bush did the same thing with was it Bush or Obama?
Bush with the banks.
Obama.
Right?
Bush was the banks. Obama was the car industry.
Yeah, Bush was the banks. Obama was the autos, and Trump was the
airlines.
So either way, you think about it.
Biden's going to be the ports.
They're all the it's all the same. It's just which advisors they have and how slow the leak is, right? Yeah. So,
going back to this question, I don't think a lot of people realize how huge this is. We're talking about real estate in the U.S. is overvalued by probably 40%. So imagine me snapping my fingers, and now your home has devalued by 40%.
Yeah.
What has happened is that the state and local municipalities being hungry for money have put pressure on these CADs, central appraisal districts, to raise property values by a certain percentage every year, so that they can make their pension payments. They can make their
Yep. Oh my God,
it's worse than that.
Do you see what I'm getting at?
It's just there's another layer there that you're missing, and that's, I think, relevant. Like, you have to talk about too how the fact that most people are applying without a down payment for government-sponsored loans, and those loans require that you appraise the house based on this metric. So all of these counties have sort of just adopted it in the same way that like road funding pushed them to raise the drinking age.
But that's the point, Greg. The metric of appraising homes is not being followed, which is called USPAP. USPAP is not being followed.
So
they're
who's
just
making the money?
Arbitrarily, well, not arbitrarily, but they're just the CADs are talking with this, like the school board in a quiet, dinner in a closed door, not even an open meeting, and saying, hey, listen, we can't make our payments. You got to raise property values so we can get a higher property tax income rate to cover our ass on next year's budget to meet all of these payments by the teachers, payment, the schools and all this. And so what's happened, and this has progressed over and over and over, year after year after year. And so our home valuation is really artificial. It's not a market.
Well, and
I just need it to stay this way for just another couple months.
Comps are a big part of the valuation process. They compare nearby houses, right, as a way to appraise them. For the most part, they don't deviate from that. They don't look at a house and say, somebody did a really nice job fixing this up. This one is now worth more than the one across the street. They're just going to have the beta market tell them that inflation has moved the market this much since the last time we appraised it. So this house goes up by this percentage, the end.
But it's really like inflation.
And it actually disincentivizes adding value.
You're instead of raising the property tax, you just raise the value, and the average dummy is like, hey, my house is worth more. I'm great. I get I'm getting to pay more
something radical. Buyer and seller pay for their own appraisals and argue it out in negotiation.
I have a perfect solution to this problem.
Go for it, Andrew.
As a universal policy throughout the entire United States for the next 4 to 8 years, every high school junior and sophomore will be taught how to adversely possess a house at 50% completion rate. They are told not how to fix it, but they are told they are to start working on the house and guarantee that as time goes on and they're not able to make the payments for that, every solution or every problem that comes forward, they're not going to be able to pay for it. And when they try to repossess the house, the whole system just fixed itself somehow. I don't know.
You shaved the beard and then you went egoist.
The adverse possession thing, though, actually does promote like efficient use of property, because people who are just not defending their ownership rights are not improving their land at all. So like, even if somebody sucks at improving their land and they can't deal with it, like at least there's somebody there trying to improve it.
But just think about it.
Yeah.
I just got a text from my mortgage company, so that's weird.
You used to what?
They're listening.
I just got a text from my mortgage company.
Yeah.
So what you're up to this weekend?
Just think about it. When they
Your mortgage
had
company wants take you out
when
for a
they had
six-pack
to
of beers and some fishing.
yeah when they had to collect on the unrealized gains on those taxes, all our national debt will be paid off.
Oh yeah, that's true. As long as they give us 0.01 Bitcoin each. Let's see here. Next question. Imagine a group of people used a privacy token to tokenize houses. Like what's the
Xano?
Xano. Okay. Then they used a platform like Airbnb to generate dividend payments to the token holders. Everyone would receive private dividend payments. How would tokenization of real estate work? Are you asking, would someone come after you for this, or
no? I'm presenting the idea or concept of private money, private dividends being paid where it's untraceable.
Right.
And
A
the
nameless
idea of
corporation that
tokenizing real
can't be
estate.
pierced, no matter how the courts wail.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like
I
it.
love it.
So let me say
Yeah.
it real quick. I mean, it would be. I think it'd be awesome. It'd be amazing. And you know what? This would solve a lot of real issues too. Where, like, let's say, you have an extended family, and they want to help one of the kids that is, off at college or whatever, or maybe starting a new family. It'd be amazing if you could help them out this way. It's like, hey, I only have this much. I can't buy a whole house, but I could help contribute a little bit, and then other parts of the family contribute as well, and we still get something from
The other
it.
thing I like is that there's
I don't
no audit trail that says like, this is an Airbnb property, so we can demand that the company Airbnb send us all the records so that we can more efficiently impose ridiculous regulations to protect the hotel
Right.
industry.
And you could use a like one of those Wyoming serial LLCs or something to hold
Unstoppable Airbnbs. I love it.
each one of the properties. Okay, it's a single unit that then is tokenized on the private side over here.
I think the privacy token for like an Airbnb or some kind of, if you're utilizing real estate as a rental or that would be very cool. For
I think
both parties.
to Andrew's point from the last question, adversely possessing property and maintaining it, I think this is an easier route, in my opinion, to do exactly that. Where you have multiple owners privately, like unknown for the most part, but maintaining
Most of the
people
adverse
who are
legal
voluntarily allowing adverse possession for cash payments on the side
Yeah,
that
most-
you can't trace.
Yeah.
I love
most
it.
of that though requires that you're not hiding your possession or whatever. So they might say, oh
Right,
no,
it has to be open
privacy
and
coin.
notorious.
Well, I mean, we'd have to get rid of the government at that point.
No,
but-
you could have a third
But
party
you could.
identity provider verify and
Yeah.
then be willing to confirm but not reveal the identities of.
True.
the
True.
people
We have that in the
who,
voting
Yeah.
system
who
for
both own the house and the person who
actor
possesses it
or
openly
protocol.
and notoriously, right?
What?
Mhm.
What?
We're just
Oh,
not
I'm
doing
drawing the
anything
blank.
about it, they would say.
What's the term when you take your property and you put a trust? What you do is you put it in a trust, and so
Yeah.
now the trust is the legal owner. Now the trust is going to negotiate with Airbnb or whatever.
The only thing
Yeah.
is this year the CFTC passed the thing where every member of interest or whatever it's called, you have to file a form and list
I don't think
all
that law's
members.
gonna
How does
survive.
trusts work like that? Can
Well, it's
I don't know,
any
because
so it's
supposedly
know.
by
The
December you
beneficial
have to
owner
file
law,
beneficial
beneficial owner registration,
interest.
and that means any entity, and they actually exempt it if you can fucking believe it. Any entity with more than 20 people working for it, or 20 members, right? So if you're a big company or a moderately sized company, they don't need to know who owns you. It's only the little guys they're after. They're trying to get a registry of Airbnbers and Uber drivers is what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Well, in which
Yeah.
case you just make sure that your ownership was well distributed, and then you can follow along with the big guys, right? That's
I personally don't think
Yeah.
that law's going to survive, though. I think Trump's going to rescind the regulation when he kind of
the law means nothing except when what they're
is.
willing to come after you for, because none of
dam
it
to the river.
matters. It's crazy.
It didn't
I
go
don't
through
think-
the
I don't
proper
think the
channels.
Department
I
of Government
followed.
efficiency is going to approve of the idea of registering every business owner.
Yeah, I
with the
followed
Fed.
it through the process, and it didn't go through. I think it didn't go through the House or the Senate. I can't remember which one. So it didn't go through all the proper channels. But the CFTC made it a policy without it becoming a law. So it's really
That sounds awesome. What
effed
the
up.
hell?
No,
So it's
terrible.
It's like,
their
how
own
does this
version
whole
of
freak thing work?
enforcement-based regulation.
Really all it is if you're someone like Soros or anybody, name any
Bill
of
Gates.
these people, all you have to do is get one person in power in one of these places through whatever means necessary. And he's like,
And
nope,
make
new
it
laws.
policies.
I don't
So,
have to pay off.
here's the
I don't
thing,
have to pay
like-
off 3/4 of Congress anymore. I just have to pay off this bureaucrat. It's so
Right.
If you
Pretty
went
much.
door to door
Pretty much.
and asked every person on the planet Earth, door to door, cave to cave, tent to tent, whatever it took, every single person, how many of them do you think would say we have a sane system that we should probably work on reforming rather than scrapping?
Yeah. Not
There's
very many.
so much opportunity for this.
There's a
nobody
lot
who
of
loves the
programming. A
system
lot of
except
people
for the
still think
bureaucrats
that
that
we're
work
in
for
the land of the
offices.
free, and we're this country is doing so well. It's like there's still a lot of people like that, unfortunately, but it's changing.
Yeah,
we can get freer as long as we live stream what our whole house's network connection over to billboards and to the police. Everything's fine.
You have to give yourself an anal MRI in front of Gary Gensler.
To be completely honest,
we
are. It's sad, but we are the land of the free compared to other places.
I don't know.
All right, I need a buzzer. It's like we need a gong.
I think
Let him finish. Let him finish. Our
version of freedom.
Wait. Let Sean finish.
Let Sean finish.
We started a podcast called "Man the Fuck Up." But we're talking about political stuff, and with the election and all. And he legitimately asked me, "Hey man, can you say something about your assistant mayor?" I'm like, "What? Like, could you call him like an asshole or anything?" And he's like, "Yeah," to his face. And he's like, and you could so because he was worried about like me saying things and getting in trouble. He's like, "You talking about the president?" I was like, "Yeah, haven't you seen videos of like when he meets people and they're like, 'You're a piece of shit,' and like to his face." And so we are, and like Tommy Robinson's going back to Britain to probably get arrested on the 26th of this month for just asking questions.
Power to him.
Did he accidentally post a Wojak on his account online, and
it's terrible. We have the least amount of freedoms we have ever, but it's worse in other places.
Well, you're comparing it to Europe. I mean, it's like,
the thing is, the United States
you're
has
comparing
this
to
idea
Europe.
of
Sure,
freedom.
if a frog meme can get you arrested in Britain, we're
freedom
freer
for us
than that.
means the freedom
maybe.
of sea pirates, scoundrels, and outlaws with a little bit of asshole in all of us.
Right?
But
like, those people look at us and see
kind of freedom, man.
Vast freedom of being able to post a meme. It's sad. It's terrible. It's getting worse.
Meanwhile, you got places like Georgia and St. Kitts and even Liechtenstein and countries like this that are opening up for entrepreneurs to actually come in and bring their capital and invest and be safe havens for you to be protected in your finances, your life, your property, your business.
Right.
I mean,
you know what? That's dangerous. I think they need to have new regulations.
A SWAT team for you at 4 a.m.
I'll tell you something. You are more free in Mexico than you are in the U.S.
Right. I've heard.
What does that tell you?
Yeah.
That's
just because
you're
in
Mexico, if there's something we're blocking here, that's for damn sure.
I think it goes down to who you can pay off too.
Yes, the bribes are in public, not private, or the extortion or whatever is publicly.
I mean, a normal person doing business can afford to bribe in Eastern Europe.
The biggest thing is guns, man. If you can't have weapons to defend yourself,
a 2-minute rule, guys,
or money.
I'm just joking.
You really have freedom. If you don't have the Second Amendment, nothing else matters.
Well, and that's untested though, because are people so programmed and willing to be lazy now that when it comes to will the Second Amendment matter?
Yes, they are. And I have been a complete asshole to all my friends for the past week or two. Everyone posts, "Oh my God, oh my God, they're doing this. Oh my God, Harris doing that," and I'm like, "Yeah, what you can do about it, slave? What you can do about it, traitor?"
Anti-gun crowd.
Well, you made a post.
They also forget that it's a national security benefit to have everybody armed.
But I will tell you, and I can interview the guy. I could have him on. I could ask him to come on. Remember Bundy? Remember Ammon Bundy and his family? What happened when the government went up there?
Yep.
They stood up. They took out their guns, and they won. The government.
But I think they're also setting people up to do that because they want the reason to take them from everybody. So they're wanting to poke.
Yeah. So it always has to be where they're standing up and displaying them. They're not. They have not. They didn't use them for Bundy, right? Because they know if they exactly what Lisa said would happen if they did use them. They would be everywhere, right? That they'd be going after them everywhere. Well, the funny thing is,
there are things that happen, but they're not reported. There are police that break into the wrong house and they get killed. and nothing happens to the people because they didn't have a warrant and they went to the wrong house. The way, but there's no way it's going to be reported. There's no way it's going to say, "Hey, people, people exercise their rights."
Right.
Listen,
well, that's
believe in their heart of hearts that gun ownership's an inalienable right. Why would you send them with guns to confiscate guns from those people if you want to stop gun violence?
We all have to mimic and emulate Britain's model. Okay, you have to show a photo driver's license or a state ID in order to buy a silverware.
All hail Kyer. All hail Sir Kyer Stormer.
That is the only safe way we can have a peaceful society.
In China, they have serial numbers on knives. They have serial numbers on knives. You have to register it like a gun.
IDs for hammers.
So you have to have an ID, but then you have to register your kitchen knife. And the government knows how many knives are owned.
A metal block that you can lathe into any kind of gun is also a gun.
Yeah, that's something that's crazy that you can't make a weapon. But there was Greg. There was a case that just got settled in Massachusetts, I think, where the Second Amendment switchblades are overturned because the state said it was against the law to have a switchblade. And under the Second Amendment, they said the Second Amendment it's not for guns. It's like Roe v. Wade. The Second Amendment has nothing to do with guns. It's your right to be able to defend yourself with a weapon, whatever the weapon is.
That's why we should all just, because it's legal. It's actually legal in all 50 states. But we need burner guns. Yeah. Basically, just like
like burner phones, burner guns.
Yeah. Also,
burner
right now,
it's like a pepper spray.
Coil guns, rail guns, and Gauss guns count as air rifles.
Yeah.
So
the magnetic ones.
It's a nice big fat loophole right there in the gun laws.
Yeah, find the loopholes.
Beastly if you get them right.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta close those loopholes.
You can get a 50 pound air gun that is very lethal.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew, why do you trust government so much?
It's my bread and butter. I just love it.
It's his patriotic.
You also
duty.
get a CRISPR kit for $100.
I'm a loyalist.
He shaved his beard and became a patriot.
He's a loyalist. He's a loyalist to the crown.
Hey, I love the crown, and I love Tory.
Did you do a bunch of acid? Did you drop acid before you came on here? This is not you, man.
You pickled your brain.
He must have been on his way in, and Elizabeth Warren bit his neck and sucked some blood out, and then he turned.
Do you guys ever see the libertarian cop or the libertarian world cop green text? No. It is one of the funniest things I've ever seen on the internet. It's brilliant. Just look it up. It's really good. Okay, let's go.
Libertarian cop.
It is freaking hilarious. If I can, if you want, I could see if I can get it so I can readable or not. It's like it's tiny.
I tried to chase.
Right?
I tried to chase him, but I was trying to skip out. Not.
I mean, it's like
or something.
This is a cop. I was shooting heroin and reading The Fountainhead in the front seat of my privately owned police cruiser when a call came in. I put a quarter in the radio to activate it. It was the chief. Bad news, detective. We got a situation. What? Is the mayor trying to ban trans fats again? Worse, somebody just stole $447 million worth of Bitcoins. The heroin needle practically fell out of my arm. What kind of monster would do something like that? Bitcoin is the ultimate currency. Virtual, anonymous, stateless. They represent true economic freedom and not subject to arbitrary manipulation by any government. Do we have any leads? Not yet, but mark my words, we're going to figure out who did this and we're going to take them down, provided someone pays us a fair market rate to do so. It just goes on forever. It's the best writing ever.
Subway, eat fresh and freeze, motherfucker.
Yeah,
they probably should have said though. I have one little quibble. They should have said pseudo anonymous instead of anonymous.
It's probably old. Right? How old is it?
I'm going to keep going. Don't worry. I'm on it. I put a quarter in the siren. 10 minutes later, I was on the scene. It was a normal office building, strangled on all sides by public sidewalks. I hopped over them and went inside. He doesn't walk on the public sidewalk. Home Depot presents the police, I said, flashing my badge and my gun and a small picture of Ron Paul. Nobody moved unless you want to. They didn't. Now, which of you punks is going to pay me to investigate this crime? It's freaking amazing.
This is what happens when Bernie Sanders doesn't run the show.
The fact that there are people out there that
burn.
think this is what it means to be an ANCAP is a little bothersome to me.
Oh,
you're taking. You got to see the humor in it.
It is.
I agree.
It is too funny. I was when that first came out. I was a libertarian. I was like, that's brilliant. It's so funny.
You can't punch any further down than us poor ANCAPs who just want to be left the fuck alone. In
I used to be, but the flag was it black and yellow, right? It's different than the diver down flag, right? But it's the same. But is that right? But it's black and yellow. Am I wrong there? Like, I can't remember. Anyway,
just live exactly as we're living and never fill out a form, and it can still all work.
It can.
Okay. When the last
I think it's the last question while in California.
Last question. It has been rumored. ... All too often, Redfin, Zillow, and others manipulate data to keep everyone happy. They need to present a happy real estate economy, home sales data, and upward home values to keep users engaged and subscribed and selling their houses, right? Sometimes they omit bad economic data or housing value decreases because that works against the use of their product. So question is, how do we keep companies with real estate information honest and accurate using blockchains? I'm going to make one answer, and it is with rope. But okay, who's next?
I'm next. I don't think you can blame the companies for this. I think that the companies exist at the pleasure of a government that would destroy them if they ever started doing things like being honest about property values, because it would make them look bad.
Okay, so you're saying they're not themselves fraudulently doing this. Okay.
No, I think this is a governmentality. This is just like the censorship industrial complex. It's just not been looked into.
Mm-hmm.
I think this question is like a thread from a tapestry, and if you start pulling at it, it unravels everything.
But the problem is still the monopoly on violence people that live in DC, not the companies that are just trying to get people into houses on the internet.
You're cutting them too. Sure, the government's evil. I give you that.
Right.
But
these
companies
weak
are
ethically.
committing any fraud they can to keep their venture capital investors happy.
Though, and being a predatory parasite.
And when you say to keep everyone happy, it's not. It is to keep the VC people that put the money in before they went public happy. That's what they're trying to keep happy.
Right. And in order to do that, they have to follow all the rules that are laid out for them, because you can't really get VC funded very easily on a agenda.
Okay, I'm going to vote myself out. Right. You can't get VC funding if you're fraudulent. Okay, I'll remember that. All right, I'll remember that.
Yeah, Redfin,
that's not what I said. I said you can't get VC funded if you're trying to do laissez-faire economics as an agenda.
There was just a huge lawsuit, the MLS, which I don't know if this kind of plays into that, but that's what I was thinking of when I was reading this, and we're selling our house right now. And the realtor was explaining the lawsuit to us. So for years now, there's been this 6% rule that the seller always pays the 6%, which is, I guess, 3% to the seller's realtor and 3% to the buyer's realtor. And so there was a huge lawsuit, and I think who was the biggest one that had to MLS and I don't know, some of the big real estate companies had to pay this like $400 million lawsuit or something. I don't know who the money went to, but anyway, but they said that, so now you negotiate your percentage with your realtor as a buyer, and then the sellers, or no, as the seller, and then the buyer is supposed to, if they come in, like, they have to have their own realtor and negotiate their own rate. But at the same time, so now the my seller realtor is telling me, so now the people that have realtors that are buyers, they will not even show a house unless there's money on the table.
Right.
Subverting this law and the lawsuit. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, that goes against what they just said.
They settled the lawsuit though.
They need to pay.
If you remember in the
yeah, so I was like, no,
remember in the org that got sued, they settled, so you can't sue anymore.
What did you say, Greg?
The National Association of Real Estate Professionals, or whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Those I like National Association of Real Estate Professionals because NARP sounds appropriate for whatever reason.
Okay.
So I'm just going to call them that. That's what they are. But they made essentially a settlement in a class action that swept in the whole class of anyone who's ever been a customer of theirs, right? Which is like anybody who's ever bought a house,
Ever bought a house? Yeah.
ever shopped for a house, anybody who has ever engaged with any realtor.
Except none of
who
us
is a
ever got
member
any of that
board.
money. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, they sent us a $5 gift certificate to Bennigan's after it was already closed.
Oh,
So,
I see.
you know,
It's so funny how those
But like, no, what I'm trying to
class
say
actions
is,
work.
what I'm trying to say is like this group essentially settled their way out of any liability for continuing to do it, because the settlement did not include like you will stop doing this or the whole settlement's null and void.
So it freed them to do whatever they want in the future.
So now you join the association, you're immune.
Okay.
You know,
And
Sweet.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac
I gotta
haven't
go.
been busy in a while. We need to have them hire a whole bunch of people to create a back channel, just like they did with Twitter, and enforce the rules of how the market's working right now in order to make sure that enough people are having a hard time buying a house. And then
So
the
a
whole
Telegram?
system just
More
capitulates.
rules, Andrew. That's your
Yeah,
solution. More
more
rules.
rules.
More rules.
Yeah.
I think we should start
So
selling
it's-
houses on Bounty Bot.
Next thing Andrew's going to say, there should be no property.
man.
Government
Start
should
selling
own all
houses on
property.
Telegram.
Okay, so that was the last question, right?
Can I make a quick comment about that question?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think blockchain could help solve that in with the
Mhm.
data collection, and actually, if someone could obtain the information or data and put it on a blockchain, you could essentially put those people out of business, and it would be just the free market at work. But obtaining that data is difficult because the MLS is kind of the holder and the screener of that data in a lot of cases, and that's where the problem lies, I guess,
Well,
is being able to obtain the data to be able to put it on the blockchain, and let the free market sort it out.
Right.
So there,
Well, I mean, and then start with the first question too of like, what data are they using, and is it good data? Right.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, like I think if they could, the deed office, the county assessor, if your home was like an NFT that could be, and it was on the blockchain, it could be updated. Like remember when Carfax came out, really changed buying cars. You could see the history. You knew about accidents. So if that was connected to your home, like insurance claims, repairs, what are you supposed to get when you fix your house?
Essentially,
permits,
every-
all that kind of stuff. It's all connected. It's
Everything
all
can then be
connected. So
valued
it would also make individual appraisals, like you were talking about, more accurate because
you could value every addition of value.
It would be more
like if it was
competitive.
a fixture.
Yeah,
right?
because
you could
it's
actually-
like my
any
neighbor's
repairs you did
house
could be
is
accounted
very
for in the
not
price.
the same as mine, and you can have someone because there are a lot of rental houses because we're in the military area, so people come in, trash them, and it's basically the valuation is not uniform, but that's how they still do it. So that
Like
would
if you attach
make
your-
things more individual.
If you
get
attach your
more
carpet
accurate,
installed NFT to your house, then you can actually have the value go up, which is pretty cool.
And then to your point, Sean, that makes it a lot easier to be more objective on your inspection rather than bring in a subjective individual that's just most likely working with the realtor that's selling the home, and they'll pinpoint some things, but it's not going to really mean much because they still want to just get the sale.
You can send an Optimus bot through and have it run through a blockchain-based analysis based on what it's looking at. Like you wouldn't even need a person; it could just be all automated.
Yep. Okay, we
you
are
Transformer, Optimus bot.
okay. We are now in the territory of memes and current events. I'm gonna warn. So I've not had a chance to filter these memes, so some of them might be kind of
Racy.
spicy.
And
Spicy,
ran
maybe.
away.
mind if I give a parting
like
shot
spicy.
on this topic before we move on? So I just want to say one quick thing.
Yeah.
The great thing about Unstoppable Code is it doesn't take bribes unless you program it to, and you can't hide it when it's public. So, let's replace the people and we get rid of the corruption. Pretty simple.
That'd be
solution.
great. But it's like our most. Here's the thing, and this is kind of just the reality of the world, and it's unfortunate. And we can fix this, but people have to understand. You can look at our own history here. Yeah, that we had what should have been that. It should have been the laws, the code, and someone convinced Vitalik that we needed to fork it. And if he would have gone against it, it would have never happened. But they forked it and they recovered that loss, and it was because somebody lost a lot of money that knew Vitalik really well or had the access to pay him off. I don't know that he paid him off. I just know somehow he was convinced.
That's also possible too.
Convinced against what I would expect would have been his own original philosophy, which, this is the code. It's the code. It failed. Yeah.
I actually really like Vlad Zamfir, but I blame him for turning Vitalik socialist.
Man, crazy. Anyway, I have no idea what influences. I used to think that Vitalik was pretty wise for his age and constitution generally, but I sometimes don't know. And I say everybody can make
mistakes. He was convinced by friends to abandon his cypherpunk attitude.
Horrible. Okay, current events. What are the current events? This was an interesting. I have another one somewhere. I don't know if I'll find it here, but a photo of the moon with Saturn in the same frame. Freaking cool. I don't know if this one's real or not. I just found this.
Did y'all talk about how the moon disappeared for days?
No.
What happened? This looks like a No Man's Sky screenshot from 20 years from now.
The moon disappeared for like 5 days.
What?
Everyone was freaking out. It was people making videos. The moon was gone for like a week.
The moon was gone. Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that. Maybe it just set early. There was a time,
dude,
earlier this month or last month where I noticed. Wait a minute, where's it at? It set. So I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know. Whatever.
But we still had tides though, right? So we knew it was there. We just couldn't see it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not near the ocean. I would, we could have not had tides.
I would like to counter answer from Andrew. Andrew, did the moon disappear, and is the Earth flat?
We are the one named Sailor Moon.
We are the what?
The one named
God.
Sailor Moon.
I didn't hear him. Okay. Anyway, okay. So
the one named Sailor Moon.
Okay, so that's the warning on the memes. So you have that on the memes. This one's not spicy. Upcoming ones will be. What is the very first, most important current event that we need to cover right now?
Oh shit!
It was the interview with Kamala and CBS or 60
Okay.
Minutes.
All right, that was mentioned. I didn't watch it yet. Wait, no, that's the first one. We're just gonna go. This is how we're gonna.
Will Kamala wind up on?
It was already mentioned. Is that interview right? So that interview is the first one. So, what do you guys think about? I didn't see the interview.
First off, Fox said that she was supposed to have 30 minutes, and that she said that then her people said, well, 15 to 20. And then she showed up 15 minutes late. And it was weird. If you've watched it, the answer was Donald Trump. I told Lee, she reminded me of like an old, not even AI, but like you could ask, the computer questions and it had like 20 answers, or like a magic 8-ball where there's only so many answers.
Demented Biden is more coherent than her.
The guy's like, hey, 70% of people polled say that the country's on the wrong path, and you said you've been doing the path for the past 4 years, and you said you want to keep the path of what you've done with Biden coming forward. So what do you think about it? And she said, yeah, and Donald Trump has been running for president. And you looked at her like, what does that mean?
That's really. I will say,
10 years.
Without even seeing this, just seeing some of the comments on it, I turned to my wife and said, the good thing about having Kamala, whatever, is that we're going to come out in 4 years where it's like going to be from a Carter to a Reagan, right? Mm-hmm. Or from a, I don't know. It's just you get big changes if you let's just let it go for 4 years.
We care
And
about Carter voting.
well, here's the thing though. The worst part about having Kamala as president for 4 years is the cringe factor. I mean, it is going to be
I think
absurdly
World War III might be
cringy.
the worst part.
I think
Well,
I didn't
I'll
watch
give up
the
the laugh.
interview.
It's like
I only watched like excerpts of the interview, and I thought it was really strange the way that they were being rushed. And I got the feeling it was her handlers were saying she's bombing, she's doing a horrible job. We got to cut this. We got to cut this quick because she's doing such a horrible job. We got to cut this.
Well, and wasn't it live?
Push.
They weren't going to do the recorded, so it was going to be live. And I heard they were fact checking her through the
really
interview. Yeah.
Now
fact checking
there's
her
a
in her
push to
earpiece
get
in
the
advance.
60-minute interview completely because 60 Minutes edited. Now they're asking for 60 Minutes to release the entire interview of that Kamala interview. Either way, I mean, it's
without them using some kind of immutable database, you wouldn't really be able to tell if they were sending you the right thing, right? Like teleprompters should be on chain immediately.
Oh, that'd be great.
Okay, so next topic is Tim Walz a pedo, and is that the only October surprise to expect?
He does like foisting tampons.
It's probably not
young boys.
I mean, it certainly makes you wonder, like, what are the Democrats to do? I mean, it's a little too late to race to figure out how do we clean this mess up, but it's pretty.
Do you think they could switch back to Joe?
Well, they'll just start their narrative of, that it's, what do they call it? Youth love or something like that. Like stop hating on people that love young people or whatever.
Oh, no, they call them maps.
Joe Biden
is the grossest thing ever. Minor attracted person.
Yes, that's what.
Because we can't hurt their feelings.
Pushing that narrative.
We can't hurt their feelings.
Stop being mean to them.
People who were born that way.
Yes, they were just born that way. Stop.
I don't think you can
there's
fix.
also no such thing as monsters.
Right? I don't think you can fix. I don't think you can fix a child abuser. I don't think it's there.
I don't think we should try.
You can't reform them. You can't fix it.
I mean, I think you can fix.
Like it's like you got to put it back. When a sick dog is you got to put him down, and that's the way I see it.
I'm okay with them moving into the place where they used to go all the time. Just like make sure that it's a monastery and not a
and make them a eunuch
church, right? Like send them off to the mountains and stick them in a monastery where they take a vow of silence, and they can live out their days in quiet contemplation. It'll
and
be
cut
great.
their junk off. Don't
make sure there's no villages nearby with children.
I don't know. I would rather say that let it be the victims. If there are victims, let the victims decide that shit. I'm not gonna say peaceful end to this freaking nasty stuff.
Isn't castration like a thing? Is it like legal?
Yeah. So is chemical.
They
I thought that they did that still, but it was a thing.
It doesn't really stop it.
What do you think?
It isn't that
government intervener?
It's not miles.
Yeah, these people have a paraphilia, so it's not really about sex drive. It's about other things.
What do you think down there, government intervener, Andrew?
Yeah.
I mean, would you really drop Joe Biden out of a helicopter to beat the sharks?
Maybe. I might.
Would he care? Would he know?
He probably wouldn't know.
Good question. Would he know?
I do have a question on this. What is wrong with our society to actually think that pedophilia is acceptable now?
I was having a conversation with someone about this because you know what? Like Greg said, they call them maps. They have a flag, and people post all the flags. So a lot of people are like, "Hey, I'm."
Can I tell you guys something?
If you can, people are posting that flag that they're supporting that. So, like, you need to if you're a left wing, nut job, you need to know what the flag is and make sure you're not.
Do a quick search on anybody who has proposed or publicly voted positive for those laws, like say in California, look in other places. And then tell me what's the common background of those people.
Well, and And how about also like people who have omitted making any comment or action on existing examples of it where they could take action and they don't? Like Deaton won a major slap in the face on Warren the other night in their debate by basically saying, hey, there was this guy who was definitely one of Epstein's best customers, and you brought him into the Senate to testify against crypto, and you didn't mention one time anything about the fact that he was a child rapist.
Wow.
Where are your priorities was kind of the argument, but like
Exactly.
And he kept steering her back to that, and you know what she did? She ignored it, did not respond to it, did not say a word about it. And guess what the follow-up media did to it too? Ignored it. Right? We can't ignore this problem.
Speaking of media ignoring, I did not know this.
It will not go away if we ignore
it. The last election, one of Trump's promises that he would do if he got into office again, or kept the office, was release the Epstein client list. I didn't know.
I'll believe it when I see it.
No. But
he is a politician at this point, but I believe
ran on that. He said that.
The funniest thing is it's the same people who won't let him release the JFK files.
They only care about protecting kids. They only care about protecting kids when it's a canard to get online censorship and surveillance.
Of course.
It's the only time they ever give a fuck.
Of course.
Okay, next topic.
They're not after people who do it. They're after people who look at pictures of them doing it.
Next topic is the burning. This is a little kid coming out of a burning tent.
This is my topic.
I think I have. There are more of them. This is like crazy. This is I think a 19 or 20-year-old who was in a hospital bed, probably out from whatever other injuries they had given him. And burning alive. You see his.
I could never hear this. It was perfect.
It's crazy.
And
so
yet,
okay.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And yet, the world community won't do anything about it. It's so.
Yep.
It's so evil. It
really, is this Lebanon or Gaza?
This is Gaza.
This is Gaza. I mean, it makes me
anymore, right? It's all on fire.
Yeah, like I'm the one that's gonna stand and say Israel is doing some heinous stuff, but it's not a genocide. But at this rate, they're moving ever so closely to committing genocide.
I mean, did you see those tweets that I just showed? There were like 24 tweets. They were all written in Hebrew.
8% of the population.
But all of the translations are
October 7th.
We need to kill them all. Every one of them, they're all. We need to kill them all. It's a freaking. If it's not a genocide yet, it's the attempt is there.
They're still blowing up. They're still blowing up food aid after saying that it can come in with protection.
Netanyahu.
If they're doing that, then
they're the international community, the UN.
Yeah, they actually took out one of their own people.
We don't need any help.
A couple American citizens on a food convoy.
We'll handle it.
Yep.
Speaking of Lebanon, I did some. I'm the dumb guy here. I did some dumb guy math. Very basic. Lebanon. How many? What's the population of Lebanon? What do you think?
I don't know.
Lisa knows.
I say 10 million.
5.
I'm gonna guess.
I'd say 30 or 40 million.
Yeah, 5 million.
Okay.
Right? 5.
No.
5.
30 or 40 million probably before all the fighting started.
5. But we've given them hundreds of millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the population of Israel is?
That's about
12 million.
20 million?
9.3.
9.3.
Twice as big as Lebanon. We have given them per person. So every kid in junior high, everyone, every little babies, we've given them each $2,000 in the past.
What's the total amount? I don't want to know how much per. What's the total amount?
So 1.8.
Well, we've given them more than that too, right? Because we sort of rehypothecate the money. Because what we're really doing is selling them rockets that we
now Ukraine is a very big country. A lot of people. What do you think? How many population? What's the population of Ukraine?
God knows anymore. 5 and a dog.
Probably 5. Yeah,
it's big.
20.
38 million people.
But I thought Ukraine was a little country. And Russia was a big country, and the big country invaded the little country.
No. Russia is
Only
gigantic.
Kamala.
But here,
Russia
38
is gigantic
38
in
million
land
people.
mass.
We've given them 240, 250, but I said 220 billion. Every person, every citizen, that works out to $5,750. $5,750.
So it's
The
like
last
we're
part of
waging
that-
2 pandemics.
The last part of that, 750, that's what we gave to our citizens, 750 in South Carolina, in Tennessee.
How much did they give people for COVID?
We didn't even give it to them. We
How
loaned
much
it
did,
to
how much
them.
did they get? How much cash did they?
Yeah, I don't
actually
want
pay out
you
to
can
people
get
during
into that 750.
Like, you guys remember
$100, but
It was
750
like-
bucks is all we gave, and we've given $5,750 to every Ukrainian.
Do you guys see that the U.S.
Yeah.
Central
during
Command
the accidental drug
did
release
this?
or accidental pathogen release crisis? What did we pay out to everybody? What was it? What was the benefit?
$2,400 per person.
Right. Okay.
Mhm.
So basically, there's and how much did we spend total on
Yeah,
the legislation that did that?
It was like
3.3
4
trillion.
trillion, but it was only like it was
Right.
less than one went to the people.
Roughly
went to
what we
people.
sent to roughly what we sent to the Ukraine in terms of per capita. We spent on ourselves, but
Israel.
most of that was still bailouts for companies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is this accurate, Joe?
Oh, is this accurate? I don't know. I don't know what the translation is.
It says Jews took over our country as a translation, but is
Yeah, I
it
don't know.
accurate?
It's like when you have the U.S. Central Command posting stuff like this, that's kind of bizarre.
That
to me.
can't be the legit.
That
That
is-
is legit CENTCOM account. That's fucked up.
That is.
Yeah, that's freaking bizarre. It's like, wait a minute, what the fuck is this? If they posted a,
It might have been on
cross-
10/7.
Listen, if they would have posted a cross with a picture of Jesus there, you think it would have been gone without notice? You think?
You know,
it's
I
just
think
the
this is a
craziest
rallying
goddamn
cry.
thing.
I swear to
Could
God,
be an
this is
yeah.
like them saying exactly what we're going to facilitate.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
and
I'll-
that is the
yeah.
very difficult truth that people are going to have to figure out what the hell's going on. I've seen a post here that I'm not going to share it on the show because it's like I'd probably get in trouble or something for it. But I think this guy really spells out where the situation we're in and why we've gone 60 years with no real change. It's like, oh, it's Democrats, Republicans, it's Democrats, it's Republicans. Oh, it's liberals and conservatives.
Right.
Oh, it's Democrats. and
It's the
Stupid.
trolley problem. But
Mhm.
like instead of pulling the lever to kill 5 people and save 1, you pull the lever and it changes the color of the trolley to blue as it runs. Down
It's
a
not
track
even
of
that though.
people.
That's the point. That's
know.
what we see. It's the trolley problem with the wizard behind the curtain. So you don't even
Right.
know who's actually pulling. You think this guy's pulling the lever, and you're going to be pissed at this guy for changing it to blue. It's like, no,
Mhm.
it's the dude behind.
Exactly.
That's
That's right.
what it
That's
is.
right. When Trump
Sorry.
was
God bless
president and when
America.
Biden was president, neither one of them were actually pulling the
Right.
damn lever. It was the people behind the curtain that was pulling
Right.
the lever. And we think the president is in control.
The
Or we
the
think the
presidents are very
Congress is
obedient.
passing the laws. We think that the Congress is actually mining the bank by watching how the money is being spent, like the OMB, and auditing how the money is being spent. We think that it's a giant myth. It's a giant lie. And when you start waking up to that, you realize that government is evil because the people behind the curtain are the ones that are evil.
Right.
And all
Well,
of that
it's-
is kind of like the chickens are going to come home to roost. And I think BRICS is going to, they know that that's our Achilles heel. Our Achilles heel is our standard of living, and they're going to destroy the dollar to create chaos within our own border. And then they got the people that have let through the border that are going to react, and that's how it's all going to come down or collapse, or how we
This
are
would have
going
already
to start
happened
feeling the
without the crypto.
pain and evil that we've put out there of the world is going to come back to us, I think, financially, and we're going to feed on each other. We're going to it's going to create a collapse,
This is
calamity, and chaos like we've never seen before.
They would have to kill crypto.
We
first,
probably
I'm
earned
convinced.
it.
You think crypto is going to have anything?
No, I think okay. So first principles thinking here, right? Crypto still permits permissionless flight. They won't be able to stop every single transaction that goes into every single exchange, and they won't be able to stop every single one of those exchanges from letting any crypto off all in one fell swoop. As soon as they go after one person to appropriate their wealth, there will be people who immediately jump to a thing that they would have to be killed, or actually they have to have their brains read against.
Yeah, but how will they get it?
If
There's a dude down the street.
I'm saying that
say,
there is enough
retired
flight possible right now because of crypto that they cannot take all of the wealth.
I don't know.
It's the only thing. It's the only thing that might stop them, because a rush for the exits right now would let too much of it get away, and they need all of it.
Speaking of Tampon Tim and Minnesota, Minnesota's a very bad place. They recently passed a law. Do you know what the defense law?
Oh,
you know, like stand your ground, the castle law, that it's a complete opposite. It's you have to try to run away. It's called like the surrender law. You have to try to surrender and run away, or else you can be charged for defending yourself. If you don't do that,
it's called the "Please Rape My Family While I Hide" law.
Something like it's like the. But anyway, in Minneapolis, they recently swore in 2 new police. They're females from Somalia and are not citizens.
Dude, is that Roomba from Haiti?
So they swore to uphold the Constitution for a country they're not a citizen of.
It's crazy. And they want foreigners to be your police. It's freaking hilarious.
And they're not going to take your guns. They're not getting people that are going to take your guns. No way.
Someone needs to make an AI version of that where it actually eats the cat, like it just sucks it in.
It'd be a game. I'd be okay with a game of that, right? It'd be a good game. You could, maybe. Anyway, what's the next?
Just remember, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's why we're fighting ISIS in Thailand with Russia on our side. We're paying ISIS to fight Russia.
That is weird
and
that we're doing
not
that.
A lie.
That is not a lie.
We are that they used to buy missiles from us, and then they launched them at our ally.
It's always the same thing. ISIS was created.
It's a war. It's just a war game between everybody is in cahoots with one another.
Yeah.
Yep.
One big giant war game.
It's crazy. It is crazy.
It's always been divide and rule.
Here's something I've noticed, and I even posted this on X last night that people who were right wingers are now supporting Palestine and realizing what's up. And it's the weirdest thing, because it's like I find myself in agreement with Cuba and with the regime in Venezuela, right? That they're saying a lot of interesting truths, and
because they're based.
Yeah, it's so weird because our media doesn't have any way to pull those apart.
Based is not an economic phenomenon, right? It's an ethical one.
Well, Anna Kasparian on the Young Turks is like a right wing, conservative now.
AOC.
I watched the Joker follow up where they
AOC's always been pro-Palestine
to make a point about demoralizing everybody who's white.
AOC's always been pro-Palestine, so
but I'm just saying it's like it is an interesting thing, an interesting place that I could see what was the by the presses, the media, the most right wing and the most left wing parts of politics joining up. It's like here's a real opportunity for unity, and you're gonna miss some people in the middle who are, I don't know what even to call them, right? But
I don't know. It's really not a horseshoe theory so much as it is a half horseshoe with a magnet on the end theory. We could flip it and make the sort of extreme left and right the divided ones.
Well, things are so
with the liberty
bad
minded in the middle again.
Things are so bad that it's like you said. It doesn't matter. It's silly that you're in shock because of it. You know what I mean? It's because you look at this and you're like, oh, that's just completely evil and terrible. That there's no way around that. And then, they have the right to defend them. Yeah, that's 100% correct. If someone's breaking into my house, I have the right to shoot them. But I don't have the right to go shoot them and then shoot my neighbors just while I'm outside.
No, but it is a more fitting analogy is you went to the neighbor's house and took part of their house, kicked them out. They still have a little piece that they live on, and you tell them you're going to live here. You're going to kill a few of them occasionally, and then they decide to attack you back to try to take back their house. And now you're going to come in and you shut off all their electricity, all their food, all their water, and you then send 82,000 pounds of bombs in, right? So that's a more fitting analogy, but who knows?
This is what happens when you buy silverware without an ID.
Well, the problem with war is that you can start it, but it doesn't let anybody stop it. It becomes its own thing, and we're not in enough yet. We couldn't quit, but we're getting close to the point of no return, right? Like,
do you?
Then it's literally going to stop when one side runs out of bullets and the other one marches in.
This is amazing. I'm sorry I interrupt. You can't beat this.
You can't.
You can't beat that. It's like this is so well done.
Someone needs to make a VR game out of this.
I'm sorry. Okay, sorry.
I want to play this on Galaxy Quest.
Oh, it's okay. That's funny. I hadn't seen this before. No. Come November, what do you think is going to happen November 6th? Do you think we're going to have a clear winner and the country be full of normies that's always looking at their phone like, well, okay, my person didn't win, oh well, or my person won, that's good, so what? Or are people going to take to the streets and be upset and protest? Or are they going to accept that the results aren't going to be validated for weeks later? Or are they going to be upset that the validation comes 6, 4, 8, 12 days later after the election? Who thinks that we're going to accept it and November is going to be?
I'm beginning to think that. I thought, and I was 100% sure that it was not going to go well, and that Kamala was going to win. But I think that it's so bad that Soros, all of them are like, all the globalists are like, you know what? We have to back off.
I think her support base right now is
and she's too ridiculous. I think she may disappear. I think she may have.
I suspect people that are
claiming
vociferously they're going to vote for her.
Wait, disappear how?
Yeah. Define disappear.
Well, all they have to do is bring up the fact that she's not eligible to be president because her parents were students when they had her and they were here on student visa. So the United States recognizes their citizenship and she is not a United States citizen. So she cannot be president.
All those things don't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, if like I said, if it came out that Barack Obama's was born in Kenya, he wasn't a citizen, that means 8 years of presidency were not. What happens?
But his dad was Bush's hitman, so that's why he was able to be president.
Right, but it also keeps out people like Elon Musk right now, right? Like he has to be a cabinet appointee instead of a candidate, right? Because of the same rule, and we also know that guy could probably be a better choice than either of these candidates. Like part of the reason that I think Trump is getting a lot of support is because it's a proxy way to get Elon into the cabinet. You know? Government efficiency.
I would like to talk about this. I think this is really important.
This makes me smile.
About Elon. You brought up Elon. So you know what California did? They've stopped him from launching any more rockets.
Yeah.
That's not what they did.
No,
slightly different.
This bureaucratic council said that there was too much of an environmental impact because of the sonic boom.
But it was NASA that made the proposal that they rejected, actually. So NASA was wanting to expand the launches.
They had a press conference. They asked this council of bureaucrats, to explain. There's 3 or 4 of them. Each of them said, blah, 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 blah. This company is run by a person who owns X, where blah, 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 and he's sided with All of them said it's political.
So like, we don't like his political speech, so we're just going to violate the First
one
Amendment.
person said anything about the environment. They all said it was political, and that to me is just insane.
Yeah. Well, they were talking. So first off, this was literally being negotiated between NASA and the California Commission, right? They said this not to Elon's face because I don't think they'd have the guts, but they were saying this to the NASA people, and the NASA people were disgusted, right? Because the NASA people recognized that without SpaceX, there are no rocket companies in the United States. There's SpaceX, and there's shit that falls out of the sky and doesn't work. Saving that, like, if we have to go back to fucking paying Russia. We can't even do that anymore. What are we gonna do? Like, try to hire China? Oh, we can't do that anymore. We literally have no allies that can go into space reliably. I mean,
Russia just brought.
We could join the EU's space group, I guess, but they probably just go to committee and talk about going to space.
Russia just brought like one or two of our astronauts back like 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
But that was always scheduled that way.
Yeah.
Listen, it's
No,
silly.
what other,
Speaking of Elon, though, too, like we got to white pill this a little bit, right? You guys saw the awesome fucking rocket.
That was awesome.
Literally a building. It was like a thing that was like the size of the mass of the Statue of Liberty. We launched it into space. It fell out of the sky. We shot fire out the bottom of it, and then used a robot arm that's bigger than the building, bigger than the fucking Statue of Liberty, to catch another Statue of Liberty as it fell out of the sky.
Yeah, it was amazing feat. It was amazing technological feat. Without,
what do you think of that? It's fucking nuts.
And I think when it comes to California and those launches, what's going to happen is the satellites and whatever company, even the military, is going to say enough of this. We're not going to launch out of Vandenberg anymore. Let's just start changing our trajectories, reprogram it, and start launching from Florida and from Texas. And so that's what's going to happen. So it's a blip. It's a minor blip and a pain in the ass for not being able to launch out of California, but it's just going to migrate to Texas and Florida. Right. I think the free market, even the military with its spy satellites, are going to go ahead and say, okay, fine, we won't launch from California anymore.
This is an interesting.
We got to repeal the munitions thing too, because it'd be cool if he could get offers from foreign countries.
If you see the if song, the Obama if song, it was awesome. If you ever look at ancient history, you look at Roman history, the richest people in Rome would raise their own armies, and they would basically campaign to be the next guy. But for consul or whatever, Crassus was the one I remember, right? But when are we going to have that? Because when does Elon decide, screw this shit? Why am I paying anything to California? I'm going to build an island, right? I'm going to arm that island and screw all of them, right?
And I'm going to do that though, right?
With this robot army.
All Elon has to do is get to Mars, start the city, and you've got an island that none of the people who would come after him have the competence to cross. Right?
I'm black-pilled enough.
What are they going to do? Get the United Launch Alliance to fly a military force to Mars?
I'm black-pilled enough. When he takes over Mars,
is ours,
and I'm thinking, I and you are thinking, hey, I'm going to put my company on Mars. I will have, it's a much fairer deal. Everything will be smart contract based, right? Then you realize he's going to basically appoint the king of Mars, and it's going to be a WEF person, and it's like, oh, and then you're going to tell me it's like, oh, he had to make certain arrangements. It's like he's
going to appoint me.
That's my fear. That's why I will call out X for all of its bullshit. They hide. I posted comments yesterday that might be controversial. They're hiding them. I'm a paid member. Why are they hiding them? Sir, how much do you pay?
It's because you're in crypto.
No.
There's a third rail. No, there is a fucking third rail in the Twitter files that they do not want to go near, probably because the SEC already went after fucking laws.
That is not the reason
I'm sorry, but it's literally we're being deboosted because we're in crypto, and it's being treated universally as a scam.
While that is true, that is not true for some.
One of them.
Right, and I'm gonna and so we still are not. We are with that variable not able to split off the wheat from the chaff. It is literally that that is not the point. It is not the crypto, because I could point to several crypto groups that have a ton of followers. They get promoted like crazy. They have no problem
which
if they
picked up before 2016.
Okay, no, it's not that. It is not crypto. And it's like, I challenge you to say what it is. Yeah, it's definitely not crypto.
It's crypto.
Listen,
and I would say some of these memes
you'll have the wrong. I'm guessing
Gary Gensler has the ability to silence people pretty aggressively, and that there probably are also rules against the platforms.
I think you're missing the point. I do
might be violating the law to Twitter files anything the SEC or
you gotta,
the reasoning is not.
Stop thinking crypto. Think geopolitical. Think banking cartel. Think that.
Dude, how crypto is geopolitical. That's my point.
Listen,
that they're deeply worried about.
It is not the single subject.
Their
and I tell you, it is extremely difficult discussion to have with some people, especially on a live broadcast, right? But there's one fundamental. I'll call it a denominator across the whole thing. But it is. Assad is part of it.
A thin hope is better than none at all.
I think it's because
I sent you that video where the Rothschild guy reads the letter that was given to his family member or whatever, and they say that like the Rothschilds created Israel, and they say a national home, not the national home. I mean, when America realizes that, and that we've all been that's maybe the biggest trick,
Yeah.
They're probably,
it all goes back to the Rothschild
members of the board of the fucking Fed too. We wouldn't know.
They're what?
Should I cut a
probably
promo?
The controlling board members of the Fed too. We wouldn't know because it's illegal to disclose it.
Well, yeah. Who owns the Fed?
We can't ask.
The Rothschild.
Yeah, you started
the Rothschild.
Why? Yeah, it's all the same thing, right?
Right.
Listen,
it's anti-Semitic, by the way, to ask that question.
You have the wrong framework, okay? I'm gonna get this through one way or the other. Can't be doing it on an island. Can't be going out to Mars. North Korea has a great rocket program they've been working on for a while now. They will get us to space.
He's not wrong.
You just have to trust the plan.
It's the wrong. It's the wrong rocket program, but he's not wrong.
Rocket Man. Trump called
dear leader.
I'm pretty sure Kim Jong-un can just fly to space without a rocket.
He's just the slacky incubator project area. That's where everything goes into to be tested. That's how we still work.
Arms and lift his whole people to orbit.
Yeah, this is where North Korea is doing it right. They're in it for the waiting game. So while the U.S. and Russia and China and all of us powers are just going to obliterate the Earth, North Korea is just waiting to just capitalize on the wasteland.
Is that why they're leaving all their lights off at night?
They have a good time preference.
I think that's exactly why they're leaving the lights out. Climate change is real.
There's like one little dot in the middle of North Korea, and that's where Kim Jong-un lives.
He's up all night playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, with Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman,
horrible.
He loves GameCube games.
I met Dennis Rodman once, and I didn't think fast enough to. He was leaving a restaurant, so I was there with the team, and it was in Dallas, and we walked in, and these like 4 or 5 of these dudes that are like really tall and all dressed black leather, right? And they're like leaving, and I say, what's wrong? And they I don't remember, they were pissed off they couldn't get a table. It was Dennis Rodman couldn't get a table, and we had one, and I could have offered it, and I could have been involved in those.
But then you would have been hanging out with Dennis Rodman, and God knows what would have happened. You probably would have been like banging a pangolin in some back alley in China.
We saw him 3 or 4 times that night. We went to different places, bars and clubs and stuff. And we saw every place we went. He ended up showing up. It was funny.
Yeah, he is living proof that a trans woman can compete just fine in men's sports.
Amen.
Speaking
of Dallas, and for all you Texas folks here, what are your thoughts on the 67,000 acres that the state of Texas is trying to take away? Well, they're trying to take away 200,000 acres for a 67,000 acre reservoir for Dallas Fort Worth.
Man,
That's going to eminent domain a bunch of private
Yes.
ranches.
I don't like Texans.
Yeah, I heard about that. And like one of the ranchers being interviewed, it's been in his family for, I don't know, 150 years or something like that.
Yeah.
I think this eminent domain, and unfortunately, I think goes way back to the Bush years. The Supreme Court had made a ruling that eminent domain was constitutional for a city or state or the federal government to, use it or take it from a private citizen, so long as a private citizen is fairly compensated.
Right.
So
they pay
it
fair market
tells me
value
that
based on the appraisers
property
the governments
laws
use.
that our government does not recognize property. And, that was when our founding fathers was the pursuit of property, and it was changed to the pursuit of happiness. So that would, as a PR stunt or PR move. But
They didn't want to be accused
unfortunately,
of cribbing
it's
Rousseau
wrong.
directly.
To answer you, Zach, it's wrong. And I don't know if enough Texans are going to rise up for these property owners that are going to be, fairly compensated. How can you compensate something that is not for sale? Like the person said, this property is in my family for 150 years. It's not for sale, but now it's going to
then
be
they point guns at you and say, our appraiser says it's worth this much. Here's a check. Get out.
Yeah,
I will say the best interview that I watched was the guy was interviewing this lady that's 92 years old. She's been on this plot for, God, I think her and her husband bought it like back in like the 60s, and like they lived on a trailer and while they were building their home. And like she's like, this is my home. Like if they want to take me out, I'm not gonna let them. Like they're gonna have to kick in the door. I'm gonna lock the door. They're gonna have to kick in the door and carry me out. And I'm like, that was beautiful.
Yeah,
it is.
Things are changing in Texas in the legal area. I was shocked. There's a father who this went to the Supreme Court. His wife wanted to transition their little boy and cut his junk off, and he said, "No, he's a child, can't do it." So the mother took the kid and went to California so that she could get it done. And he said, "Well, that's kidnapping," and
it also
went to the Supreme Court, and they ruled that it is not. That it is. There is no likelihood. No, it's not more likely or less likely that he will be castrated or transitioned if he lives in California versus Texas. Which,
but like, aren't there already some basic laws against taking kids that far away from
that's what I thought too. But
custodial interference.
The Supreme Court here in Texas said no, and but California has passed specific laws as like a sanctuary state for that.
Right. Once they arrive, the kid will have the control. The kid will get to say, "I demand this," and if the mom doesn't give it to him,
but then how could
the mom
how could legally the Supreme Court say that there's no difference between Texas and California when there obviously is? So
I don't know. Let's ask Case Oliver.
He has one more
decision, obviously
appeal, and then that's it. His kid gets castrated.
I think they should probably like wrangle this in a they should get their own lawfare machine fired up. I mean, you could probably raise enough money on this issue, right? If it were me, I would find a way to remove this to federal court.
No, you should raise enough money to get a SWAT team to recapture the child from the mother.
Like, just allege that Discovery would disclose some defendant in California who's already colluding with them to do the surgery. Put them on the complaint and say we're removing this to federal court because we've got diversity jurisdiction.
Yeah, again, there is no law, though. I think that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Human frailty and corruption. We like to think that our local government is less corrupt, or our state is less corrupt than the federal government, and we always talk about, well, the federal government is so corrupt, but that corruption is through and through, thick and wide at all levels, all branches of government.
Central
You
planning
just talked about it. Have shown me that much
right?
more and make me disgusted as a Southern person.
Yeah.
I talked about it in the chat. and someone said, yeah, crooked Southern sheriffs. And it's such a stereotype, but it was literally on display for the world.
These guys have no other way to keep their fucking places open. Like, they're incentivized by like going out of the business of law enforcement in their area altogether and leaving it to the state troopers if they don't engage in aggressive civil asset forfeiture, right? The whole thing is designed to corrupt the people that run it.
Yeah, it just shows that
that real?
government is evil, in my opinion. Because
Yep.
why we gave our power, we gave our liberties to these. I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful.
Second Amendment
I'll interrupt.
was probably the
This
most effective
is a
form of
funny
policing
meme.
we could have had.
I didn't get this meme. I need to get it and send it to you, but it says doctor's house, income $175,000, and it's got this like nice boat in the driveway, and then it says congressman's house, annual income $175,000. It's this giant mansion,
Oh, I've seen that.
2 yachts, and
Yep.
you
Great.
know, it's like
Great.
And a
Fred
stock
said,
portfolio that beats the best market analyst that you could possibly have, because
the system's designed to create corruption.
But no one has any comments on this meme. This meme is.
It's a Sudoku,
I'm-
right?
I'm trying to
Yeah.
solve the Sudoku, and I can't make myself.
Is it
mad
Sudoku or seppuku?
Yeah.
Can you portmanteau
Anyway.
the two words?
I don't know. William said something about we gave up our freedom, and I think this book right here, called One Man's War, Jack Henson's One Man War, that's a good book to read, because he literally he went to war with the Federals that occupied his home and the land
Really?
between the rivers over in near Dover, Tennessee, on the Kentucky-Tennessee border, because they were literally, the land between the rivers was literally a land that was kind of separated from, they had their own little society, community, and they didn't really, like the Civil War when it began, it didn't really mean much to them until the Confederates came through, set up their fortification. The Federals came in, Grant's armies were able to invade and take it. And then from there, just the political standpoint of it all ended up switching the script when the Federals started really, truly showing the martial law that they were bringing.
Right.
The authoritarian-esque idea that they were bringing to this little area that was pretty much off to their own. And so I think his son ended up getting shot by Federals, and so he ended up leading his own one-man war, just sniping at Federals, sniping at officers.
I saw
So,
that.
I mean,
they made a film, didn't they? What's the name of that book? I want to live gen it real fast.
One Man's War by Jack Hanson's story. One Man's War. I just typed it.
Yeah,
I can look it up. Thanks, Zach. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
reading
It's
this
from
book, man.
it's
That's
from
good.
the author is Tom C. McKinney, but it's John Henson's One Man War.
Cool. That's probably something that if we lived in a society that was
With rules?
not lost of its values, that would be
Yeah.
read in Western civilization in colleges. I think this should be an
What's
interesting-
interesting about Jack Henson's story is he was willing to work with the occupied forces in the area, because he was a pretty big wig area within Dover, Tennessee, and all that. So he was kind of in it, working with the Confederates. When the Federals moved in, he kind of worked and tried to build relationships with them, and then the script just flipped. He was kind of forced into this fight or flight mentality, and he chose to fight.
Hey, Joe, we got to wrap it up. We got a lot of people to go
We
through.
do.
Right?
Jeez. All right. Let's start
Be quick.
with. Let's just go to Lisa. What's going on this week?
Everybody go read the NDAA. There's a lot of interesting stuff, including them admitting to directed energy weapons and Joe Biden giving up his powers to the Secretary of Defense. And catch my channel
Excellent.
over Litecoin Lisa on YouTube.
All right, Zach.
Just keep on keeping on, everybody. So decentralize yourself and become economically free by becoming your own bank. Get into crypto, find different assets to diversify: land, gold, silver, and just critically think. So you can also catch the Legacy Right every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and X. So we keep on flying.
William.
Big things may happen in DEN.SOCIal. There's possible hostile takeover. Not really. It's a DEN vote. I'm running as for candidacy to take over DEN. No, to become the Caesar of DEN, the king of all social media. Anyway, stay
Interested
tuned.
in forming a ruling triumvirate with somebody else? I'll join.
Yeah,
Very good.
a
Very good.
decentralized autonomous organization with one leader.
Andrew.
Oh man, I've just been thinking I'm gonna start a new crypto project, and it's gonna be called Bedazzled, and it's gonna be big. A lot of stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Right on.
It's gonna be big. Got to do the hand.
Coin.
Greg.
Buy the Jazzle coin from Andrew. Sorry,
I
that's not
dig
what
it.
I'm gonna say. So two things. Don't forget to go to LiveGen. Get your free knowledge, for fuck's sake. It's literally every book that's ever been written, stuff out of print. You will not believe what you can find. You will not have to pay for knowledge because you ought not have to when information it costs $0 to replicate. Go get
What's
it.
the
It's
what's the
yours.
domain that you use?
LIBGEN.is. LiveGen.is.
Because that one doesn't work for me. But okay, the GS one for some reason works for me. But anyway, okay.
You might have to fire up your VPN and
who needs a VPN unless you're hiding something, Greg? Sean.
Wait.
Check out the Man Up podcast. We're started with me and Kiffs. As far as critical thinking, just start asking why. People stopped asking why so long ago. You know, it's like they just hear something and Israel's our greatest ally. Okay, why? Just ask why. You know, and be good to each other. Check out me and Lisa on Tuesday for Truth Tuesday. The Man Up podcast we're showing on Kick and Twitch, and then it replays on our YouTube channels.
Can I be on that sometime? I want to come on
skip
that.
back? 'Cause I had two.
Yeah, sure, Greg. Greg, finish up.
I had two items.
Finish
Quickly. Go watch John Deaton kick Liz Warren's ass and donate to his campaign because he needs to win. That bitch needs to go. And please go to wewantjustice.org and give to Roman Storm's defense, because if he can't win, then privacy's dead in this country.
I would say I love John Deaton, but he stopped replying to any of my DMs as soon as he started running for Senate. I think his handlers were like, so you can't touch any of these people anymore. You can't talk to them and be kind and help them out. Anyway, but I still hope he wins. I'm sure he will win.
Anybody's better than that vampire
monster.
witch.
Yep, vampire. Yep, there you go. And Sean, I think they need to try to figure out the answer to why. I think everybody's asking why. I think we need to start trying to understand what's the common denominator, right?
People just don't ask why. Why is that way? Why did we move from Philadelphia to Washington D.C.? Me and Lisa looked that up and found what the
very interesting
was.
Normies need to ask why. Some people are already asking why. And
one last question: why is it that Washington D.C. was the key?
They said because they didn't want the federal government to be dependent on Pennsylvania to defend them.
Yeah. I don't even care. Whatever. I don't even know what that is you guys are talking about. Anyway, I was on. Let's see here. What's it called? It's the Web3 Global Media Space yesterday. We'll go watch that. They're awesome. They're really positive, good crypto people. A lot of different projects brought in. It was a really good show. And I'm going to try to be on there anytime I can. And I always advertise this show over there. Hopefully they'll come over here at some point. Other than that, watch Dracaria. There's going to be another gateway key giveaway tonight. And watch Dragon Chain. stuff's brewing. I have no idea how stuff's going to pan out, but we'll have some news sometime soon.
VRGN is also available on Sushi Swap, and it's actually holding pretty well against the market.
We have to go. I'm running late.
America's not the government, people. The America is you. It is the Grand fucking Canyon, the Rocky Mountains, the deserts of the Southwest, the Pacific fucking Ocean, the Atlantic fucking Ocean. It is the grandest continent. And what the fuck have you people done?